Everyone, welcome to another podcast episode. Here at High Level, we call them the Spotlight Sessions. I've got none other than Matt Plapp. Matt and I met, I want to say, we met over a decade ago with Billy Jean's Inner Circle group, and he was one of my big brothers there, and I looked up to him in many ways in building agencies as I was in my early stages. And Matt has built a massive brand today. He's highly respected in the world of marketing, specifically in restaurants. So I asked Matt, hey, let's jump into a conversation. And what I want to do is talk about going from a one-man show that turned into a team of 60 team members or even more and growing
Yeah.
while growing to eight figures or more. And we'll talk about three things: getting the agency off its feet as a solopreneur. And then we'll talk about building a team around these offers, an assembly line, and we'll also talk about how Matt removed himself out of the business while building a corporate brand and still staying in front of the stage in a way. Matt, welcome in, man. I'm glad I'm seeing you still in orange gear. You had orange back then and you still got orange. Yeah, orange shoes.
Orange
Uh,
everything, baby.
I love it. Matt, how's it
Watch,
going, man?
water.
How's it going? How you been? What's happening in your world?
It's going amazing. Just growing, trying to figure out the next level to our company while keeping my sanity. You mentioned earlier, one man show to 60 plus. Payroll hits every Friday here. And I can remember when I hired my first employee back in 2011, who's still with me today. She runs our entire marketing agency, and her checks were 600 bucks a week back then. And that was my payroll besides paying myself. And tomorrow's payroll with 401k is right around $83,000 for the week. And I say that and laugh about it, and it's exciting and it's nerve-wracking and it's stressful, but it's also pretty cool to see because I could never have imagined when I knew you at Billie Jean that I'd have more than me and Ashley. And I sure as hell would have never thought that I had an $80,000 payroll a week. I would have told you you're on drugs.
Well, Matt, let's talk about Matt the solopreneur. So I want to say I met you maybe 2013 or 14 or even before. You were one of the early agencies in Billy's. Like I remember when Billy was, at his parents' house
His parents'
creating
basement, yeah.
clicks
With like
into
what clicks
customers
to
or
clicks to
something.
customers.
Yeah, I want to say that was the lane and the cohort that you were part of, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
That was
A lot of
around,
lot of lot of big names too. Like you have Josh Nelson, Nick Robbins, a bunch of Rob
yeah.
Bailey. A lot of the guys and gals that we see today was part of that cohort.
Yeah. Yeah. Mike Arcee was involved in that back in the day. He's a big name
Yeah,
in the agency business. And
yeah,
it was 2015-ish probably is when Billy
yeah.
had clicks into customers.
One
And
1.0.
yeah, 1.0. And I met Billy. I started my agency in 2008.
Yeah.
And my idea with my company back in 2008 was to create what I didn't realize then, but basically a job for myself. I didn't want to work in corporate America. I had been in media before many years. I knew advertising. I had a small business. We had grew from 0 to 15 million a year in sales in the boat business. And in that time, I learned digital marketing, the internet, SEO, Facebook. I was, running restaurant marketing on Facebooks in 2008. So 16 years ago, what we do today, we were doing back then. And my vision was a one-man show. I didn't want to have any employees because I didn't want to screw up their lives if this business didn't work. That was my fear. I also was bad at hiring people. Everybody I ever hired in the boat business, it seemed like got fired, and they were like, "Who the hell hired this moron?" And I was like, "That'd have been me." And so I knew enough to be dangerous about marketing. I had a lot of name recognition in the market from our boat dealership and from being in radio, advertising sales. And so I launched the company in 2008, and we built it really quick within a couple years to doing about $30,000 a month in revenue, helping about 30 businesses. And the big part for me back then was I knew how to buy media for them. So I knew how to buy radio and TV and billboards and direct mail and newspaper. But I also understood email marketing. I understood Facebook marketing. I understood SEO, website design, and that was all self-taught. And that was a huge asset back then because in 2008 to 2010, nobody was doing it. And that was how I launched the company. And by 2011, we had grown to a point where I had about 30 companies I was helping, and I was 80 hours a week nonstop, man, doing their social media, doing their websites, doing their email, buying their Facebook advertising, buying their radio, their TV. And then I hired my first employee and, stayed pretty similar size from that point up until 2015.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the folks that are watching this podcast, you may be in your early days, early journey, and I know Matt really well to tell you that when we share these things, there's a lot of pain and sweat and a lot of not so attractive emotion behind the scenes. Well, we may sound like you're just boasting on all kinds of accomplishments, but that's not reality. There's a lot of stressful nights where we're trying to figure out what's going to be Monday like, you
Yep.
know? So everything we're sharing is to help your journey as you're starting out. Please lean in this conversation. So, Matt, getting the agency's feet off its ground as a solopreneur. That's the first thing I want to talk about when it
Yep.
comes to this. Help us understand the original way you started this agency business in general and how you got your first customer. What are the things you did? Give us that chapter, chapter one.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because I coach for Josh Nelson at
Oh,
the
yeah.
seven-figure agency, and I'm a mentor there. And a lot of times people get on the webinar we have every couple of weeks and they'll ask these questions like they want to run Facebook ads, they want to have a landing page, they want to have their Facebook traffic go to a landing page from high level and people automatically become clients. Like, and I'll ask the question, okay, well, you're working with what? And they're like a guy the other day, med spas. I said, cool. How many med spas have you walked into and had a conversation? Well, what do you mean? Like I run Facebook ads and they come to a page and they do a Zoom call. Do you not have med spas where you live? Well, yeah, we do. Then get off your ass and go knock on their door. So I launched my business not by selling anybody anything. I remember my first meetings. Brennan Scanlon and his dad, Jeff, Adam Perkins with Masterpiece Audio Video, Greg Dove of Turtle Creek and Cedar Creek Flea Market. I walked into their office, and then Jeff Egbers was number 4. I walked into their office and said, hey, I respect you all as entrepreneurs. I want to run a business plan by you guys. And I'm not here to pitch you. You're a friend of mine. You may or may not need this, but I just want to get your opinion. And that was transparent as could be. Could all of them end up being clients because I was honest. They trusted me. They know, like, and trust. They were in that funnel. But I said, hey, here's what I'm thinking. I understand this thing called Facebook. Nobody in their right mind is on it right now because none of them were in 2008. I understand SEO and websites, and I also know how to buy media. I'm looking for your advice on what you would do if you were me and how you would price it because I literally had no clue how to price my services. And when I had this conversation with all of them, they all said the same exact thing. Matt, I know you, I like you, and I trust you. I think you're crazy that people are going to buy stuff off of Facebook. Like the one guy, Adam, was at a movie theater company. I don't think anybody in their right mind is going to see a Facebook post because at that point it was kids and buy a movie theater, but I trust you. And I would love to be one of your early clients if you'll take me. And I didn't take anybody's business early on. I said, let me think about it. I want to build this first and come back with pricing. So then I came back to most of them and said, hey, here's what I want to do. Next couple months, free of charge. I'm not going to charge you a damn thing because I don't actually know what the hell I'm doing. I know enough to be dangerous. I know marketing, but I don't know your business. And I don't feel right taking money from you. And I did that. And every one of them turned into a client. And then they also turned into referrals to other clients. And within 2 years, we were doing, we had 20 or so clients, doing about 20 to 25 grand a month in revenue. And it was just me. I had no overhead. Products like High Level didn't exist back then. I had a constant contact account. Each client paid for their own. I don't think Facebook ads even existed until probably 2010, I want to say, maybe 11. So
Yeah.
we were just doing organic posts. And I was also running some Google ads to, ironically, Facebook stuff. Like, there were some things we did early on. I don't think it even worked, but it was having candid conversations and knocking on doors. And it's like I told a guy recently, I said, man, you don't have the credibility to run a Facebook ad to get somebody to go to your high level landing page to schedule an appointment and sell them on a med spa marketing service you've never done. I said, why don't you just walk in the door down to the place down the street and be honest? Hey, I'm brand new. I've got these skill sets. I think they would work here. Would you help me? And I'll help you on my time and we'll build this thing and see how it works.
I remember talking about these things in the old Billie Jean groups. I remember I mean, I was in the dental space, if you remember, and I would
Mhm.
walk in with dental offices that week. We would have like these like competitions in the Billie Jean group. So we like,
Yep.
all right, how many rings, how many bells are we gonna ring? Ring. It's like a Sam Ovens inspiration, right? So everybody's trying to ring the bell, and I'm like, dude, I gotta ring the bell this week. So I would literally grab cupcakes and go to dentist office,
Yep.
put on a nice shirt, and I'll drop sweets off in all these dentist office. Believe it or not, they go crazy about sweets. And that's literally how I got clients, and it was inspired by people like you. And
Yep.
what I think as a solopreneur, the big key is to go outside the box and just be transparent, right?
Yeah.
So
Remember Gerard? Remember Gerard Norman?
Gerard Norman, yeah, I remember
Gerard was
him.
the king of the cold call, like in person. And I remember when I
Uh,
first met him through Billy G, I thought dude was lunatic. He was doing these videos. Like I wasn't doing video back then. He was doing videos of him, like it was 6 figures in 6 months. And he would do GoPro videos of him walking in these businesses and getting told no. And he would come out and he would
yeah,
show the like, man, that guy said no. They told him I was an idiot. This guy said yes. But yeah, it was all about getting your reps in and getting, shooting foul
yeah.
shots until you become good.
Yeah. And then it was around this is mid, I don't know, 2015, 16. The big thing was content. Content was the big thing. So I
Yep.
remember, Matt, every restaurant you walked into, you would take a selfie with the owner.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't matter where it was, didn't matter whether you were clients or not. I remember you posting about people's menus.
Yep.
I remember looking at your Facebook profiles to figure out if I'm visiting a certain town, whether Matt had approved a couple of restaurants. And I know you're not a restaurant owner at the time. I'm just
Yep.
like, dude, that's the type of cadence you had to build to kind of be relevant in the Billie Jean community. So going back to the solopreneur, thinking outside the box, what else got your agency off the feet?
Let me show you something real quick. Call me on my phone real quick. So my son called my phone. It's recording. I understand that. I just need my phone. So he's recording me because we record everything. We have a camera on my desk with my phone. But I want to show you something because today, what you just said actually happened. So today, if I can go to my damn album here, albums. Cole, why are you calling me? You just said to. No, I'm saying give me my phone. My son called me. There's me and
Yeah,
Andrea Spigian
see?
at her restaurant. That's her restaurant. She's a friend of mine. She's not a client. She should be eventually with our new company, our new division. But that was today at lunch doing exactly what you
Yeah,
talked about. I've been doing it since '08. And so the one thing I'll say with regards to this conversation is consistency. I've been wearing orange forever. I was at the National Restaurant Association show, 56,000 in attendance,
yeah,
4,000 booths, companies there like Coca-Cola that could buy and sell Matt Plapp every second for a hobby. And literally CEOs of major companies were walking up to me, Matt, what's going on? Let me get a selfie. And I had no clue they were. They're like, I follow you on LinkedIn, bro. I knew it was you. I was walking out of the bathroom, saw some orange J's, looked up, saw an orange golf shirt, knew it was Matt.
it was
And
orange back then, and it's still
yeah,
orange. I
and that
mean,
started because of Billie Jean and content. So I'll tell that story real quick because it's relevant. Billy got me into creating content. My early clients, I was convincing them to create content going back to 2010. I had an iPad. I'd go to their restaurant. I would film stuff. There, one guy, Troy McCracken, who was doing, commercial construction and IT stuff. And I never did my own stuff though, because I'm like, I don't need marketing. But I did, but I just didn't do it. And plus I hated being on video. And so I'll never forget, Billy talked me, all of us into doing content. So
I remember.
I would do batch videos. On a Monday, I would record like 80 different videos and then I would chop them up. By complete coincidence, I was wearing an orange golf shirt a couple Mondays in a row because I had orange, I had blue, I had green, I had white. There was no rhyme or reason. I liked the color orange, but I didn't like it that much. I show up to Billy's event. It was 2016 or 17 at the Hard Rock in San
Yeah,
Diego
in
hotel.
San Diego. Yeah,
And he
I'm pretty
walks over.
sure. I'm pretty sure me and Rob and Alex were there that day.
Yeah. And
You got an orange solo cup, man. It's usually red. You got trademark
orange,
solo.
orange ones, baby. Orange solo cup. I fill you up. So Billy's walking down, and I was in a thing called the Extraordinary Geniuses because Billy's program was called Genius. And then he had the
Yeah.
Extraordinary Geniuses. That just
Well,
meant we paid
School
a
of
hell of a,
Genius, right? School
yeah,
of Genius. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah.
School of Genius. And then he had the Extraordinary Geniuses, which I think was
Okay,
actually
yeah.
Extraordinary fucking Geniuses. I'm like, there's a box over there. And there were 6 of us that all paid, I want to say like 30 grand a year to be in it. And he's walking with his entourage down the hallway. And I didn't want to bug. Was a big name then. He's even bigger now. I didn't want to bug him because everybody was always bugging Billy. And he stops and he's like, "Hey, Matt, yeah, what are you wearing?" I was wearing this shirt he gave us, this black shirt. And he said, "Everybody wear it the day before. Everybody wear it tomorrow for the first picture we're going to do. If you don't wear it, I'm going to kill you," basically, is what he said. I said, "I'm wearing the shirt you threatened us with." He's like, "No, my guy, you only wear orange." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You fucking with me?" I go, "I don't think so." And he's like, pulls his phone up, goes to my YouTube channel, and every video I'm in orange. He said, "This isn't on purpose." I said, "No, actually, it's not. I like orange. I wear it occasionally, but I didn't know I wore it that much." He's like, "Well, when people call here looking for restaurant help, we tell them Matt Plapp. They say the guy in orange. Never not wear orange again. Go back to your room. Do you have the shirt with you?" I'm like, "Yeah." I went back to my room, changed my shirt, and I think I've maybe a handful of times in the last 5 to 7 years not worn orange.
Yeah.
And so
I've
that
never
was that
seen
part.
you I've never seen you not wear orange, except for
Yeah.
once you had a black suit on
Yeah.
top of your polo shirt at like a conference. But
Yeah.
I think the key there is the discipline about it, right? There is a certain level of discipline that I think a lot of solopreneurs don't have just yet. They don't have that habitual thing that they've built like a
Yeah.
momentum with. Can you speak on that?
You've got to be consistent. You've got to always do it. I do a daily podcast every day since June of 2022. So I'm on like today's episode 615 or something. I do a blog post now the last 2 months. I work out pretty much every day. I have a very similar routine on how I do, getting up at 5 a.m., doing this, doing that. I'm not a routine guy. Like I don't get up at 5 and do a cold plunge and do this. I've got all that crap, but my days change all the time. But I consistently do the same things every day on autopilot. And I have for a long time. Like the one thing that drives me crazy with agencies, and I tell this all the time at Josh Nelson's events, is I'll go to their personal Facebook and there's nothing about their business. Or it's them leaning against a BMW saying, "I get you 20 leads a month." And it looks salesy. And if I go to their business page, it's just a bunch of spam. It's not marketing. It's not practicing what we preach. And so you've got to consistently do that. I consistently create content. I mean, Cole is here filming me because Peter, my full-time video guy, is on vacation this week. When we were at the NRA show this past Sunday and Monday, I had 2 camera guys with me. When I was in Vegas last week, I had David and Peter with me filming, and Noah, we had 3. The week before that, same thing. We consistently practice what we preach. We create content. My messaging is exactly the same today as it was in 2008. Build an email list, build a text list, build a social media following, build your website traffic. And I call it create your own radio station. I wrote a book years ago. I never published because it sucked, but it was my first try. But it was called Create Your Own Radio Station. The idea was a radio station only can charge for advertising because they've cultivated an audience in a region. Well, you as a small business owner have the same ability. And that's why I preach to owners. I did seminars called Create Your Own Radio Station back in 2009 and 10 at the Radisson in Covington on behalf of Constant Contact. And the idea revolved around small businesses have more of an impact with their own marketing elements, like an email list, than they do buying radio ads because of all the waste. Well, it's the same with an agency. If you niche down and if you find whether it's a niche product you can do for businesses, like get leads for small businesses, or you work with restaurants or chiropractors or whoever, it allows you to create momentum. And if you do it for a long time, you win. I put that in the survey that you sent me about this webinar, was that too many people are changing. Like I can literally pull up right now 10 people that you and I were in School of Genius with and go back through their timeline. I bet their agency has done 20 different things in the past 10 years. My agency has done one thing.
Yeah.
And it hasn't always been help good. Like even right now, I'm as broke right now as I've ever been because I'm betting it all on growing our company to 100 million. And it's actually seeable. I can see where the end of next year we'll hit about 28 million a year. It's there. And it's scary as shit because I have to bet a lot and take a lot of risk.
Yeah.
But I'm as broke as I've ever been. But back when I was a one-person operation in 2010, I was the same way. I was betting on me to do all the work and get out there. But it was consistency. I went to BNI meetings every Monday. I cold called businesses. I had a thing I would do that I would go, every business I went into, I would come out of the building, I'd turn right, I'd turn left, I'd go to one business right near them. And I'd walk in that business and say, hey, I knew their name because I had everything logged. Mike, it's Matt Plapp. Hey, I don't have a whole lot of time. I know you don't. I didn't mean to intrude your time. I was just next door talking to XYZ. And they're like, oh, you were talking to him? Yeah, we're possibly gonna do some business together, or he's a client. I would do it every time. And that built up the muscle memory and getting over the fear of walking in a small business. And it made me better on Zoom now because I've had so many of those conversations.
I love that. So as we talk about one man show being turned into now, essentially about a eight-figure agency, a corporate brand at this point,
Yeah.
like how do we get a team to think like the way the CEO is? So let's talk about the second item, which is building a team around the offers and the assembly line. How do you get the buy-in? How do we figure out A players, B players? How do we figure out how to grow who? Like, help us understand the
Yep.
whole team concept because going from solopreneur to now putting all that responsibility on someone else, it's its own
Yep.
challenge. I mean, that takes quite a bit.
So it's comical you asked that question. If you go to mattplapp.com, I have a blog post yesterday. I call my new blog is called The Puzzle. Back in 2009, I think is when I started blogging on mattplapp.com. I got away from it, didn't do it for a long time. Our blog was just automated videos from Instagram and I think maybe even YouTube. And so I went back to blogging about a month and a half ago, and I'm blogging every day now. And I wrote a blog yesterday about Ashley, my first ever employee I hired. She's still with me today. Her June 22nd is her 13th year. And the first email I ever, sent her was May 31st when we scheduled our meeting. And you look at the blog, you'll see the story, the screenshots of the calendar invite on there, all that stuff. But when I found her, and this is one thing I think a lot of people struggle with is how to find that first person. I got lucky as shit. She was a daughter of a friend. I made an announcement at a local BNI group and said, "Hey, I'm looking for my first employee. Who knows somebody that's willing to work 5, 10 hours a week for a person that's going to give them no instruction and they understand some form of the computer and the internet and what is a cell phone." And she's like, "Hey, my daughter Ashley just got laid off. She's looking for something. She wants to chill at the pool all summer, but I'm sure she could work 5 to 10 hours a week." Within 6 months, she was full time. But one thing that really helped me back then was I made her my counterpart in everything. I did everything back then. And like when I was with Billie Jean, I created the landing pages. I learned Zapier. I learned Schedule Once back then. I learned Twilio. I learned, high level when it came out. Like everything that we do in our agency today, there's 64 employees as of 2 days ago. Every single one of their jobs, Matt Plapp did. And when I hired Ashley, I hired her and said, "Hey, I need you to pick up my scraps because I'm going to go meet with clients. I'm going to sell them some type of package. I might not know how to do it. I'm going to call you from the car, tell you what we got going on. By the time I arrive at our meeting location where you and I are going to meet, YouTube it and figure it out." And that's what happened. Ashley today, besides videotaping, Ashley can do everything in this entire company. And what happened was she became my right hand. And then when we went to hire the third person, what we did was, okay, Ashley, you're at capacity. I'm at capacity. What one item can we give that person to be a specialist in? And we hired a lady named Tanya. And Tanya became our content specialist. She became social media. So Ashley, who was doing the Zapier integrations, the mini chat connections, the landing pages, the Facebook ads, everything, graphics and Canva. Like we were one of the first Canva users back in the day. And what it's become today is insane. Like I remember Billie Jean teaching us how to take the backgrounds out of videos and images and like the green screen at the office. Like that was the toughest thing ever to freaking light. Like half my head would disappear in my videos. But back then I taught Ashley all of that. And then when we hired Tanya, we basically broke off one thing and Tanya became our social media content person for all of our clients. Now Ashley had that off her plate. And then probably a year after that, we hired somebody to take over the mini. It was Tom. We hired Tom to take over the mini chat and all the Zapier integration. Boom. And now today, just keep doing it. 64 people to a point where I have a COO, I have a CMO, the only thing we don't have yet is a CFO, which is interviewing and possibly at the end of the year. But we have every corporate position, we have every leadership position, and then they have every employee underneath them to where everybody in our company is now a specialist. That only happened because I had myself and Ashley as the jack of all trades. We could do everything back in the day.
So it's almost like you duplicated yourself right out of the gate, essentially generalist, and then figured out their strengths and
Yep.
weaknesses, and then
Yep.
kind of put people in the right seat, right? Like the book Good to Great, you got to
Yeah.
put the right
Jim
people in the right
Collins.
seats of the school bus, and they'll tell you where to go. They'll tell you the direction of the business. Um, so help us understand the cultural side. It's one thing to like you and maybe Ashley, Tanya, and Tom, like you guys have like a family oriented maybe experience, but it's different with 64 people, right? It's more like now there's some layers there. Now there's some leadership skills that needs to be ironed out. There's
Yeah.
KPIs, there's OKRs, there's data, there's metrics. Like help us understand that feel versus the original team that you put together.
Yeah, we've worked really hard to continue that. We're an in-person company. We have, I want to say 45 of our team that work out of here. There's 15 or so that are on the road all the time because we have a media company that travels the country in Mercedes vans and film every day. Like we're filming at 4 restaurants today. And then we have about 5 to 7 remote employees, one in Canada, a couple in Virginia, one in Texas. So majority of our people are here. And outside of our team that travel, the roadshow team, everybody is indoctrinated into almost the identical culture. I mean, tomorrow I'm taking everybody to a restaurant down the street for my birthday. My birthday was last Friday. I was out of town. So we're going down the street. We do free lunch Fridays every Friday. Our employees, after they've been here, I think it's 60 days, get a pair of orange kicks at their own choice. Sometimes if we've got, like we've got 3 people next week, I'm going to take to a shoe store locally and we'll go buy them. But we try to treat everybody the exact same. And yes, it's hard as you get bigger. And I'm sure some of the things we do right now are tough to scale. I took 36 people to Buffalo Wing Fest last Labor Day. If that started 3 years ago, we're the media sponsor. America's Best Restaurants is the National Buffalo Wing Fest every Labor Day in Buffalo, New York. And the first year we had 6 of us. 2 years ago we had 16 of us, and this past year like 36 something. It was 36 people, and it wasn't cheap. It was an expensive ass trip. And I remember after I did it and I offered it, like our bookkeeper's like, "Did you do the math on that? Like how many hotels? How many? It's a lot of shit, bro." And I'm like, "Yeah, my bad." So we do a good job of keeping that culture. The one thing we're not hardcore on here, I'm not hardcore on hours. I'm not hardcore on days. We give everybody has 4 weeks of mandatory time off that they have to take off. Like this week, team one is off. No ifs, ands, or buts. I don't give a shit if you're at home. You're not allowed to work. So they have 4 weeks of that. They have Christmas and Thanksgiving off, and then they have 2 weeks of personal time. So our employees have like 8 weeks, I want to say is the number, off every year. And then we obviously observe 3-day weekends every month, and Memorial Day, Labor Day, all that good stuff. But as you grow the company, you can't grow it as a dictator. And I think that is a mistake a lot of businesses make. I see it in Josh Nelson's program. I get to talk to hundreds of agencies every week in different webinars and at the live events he does. Like he has one coming up in July. And you hear the different attitudes. Like my employees better do this or they're fired. I'm like, if they're not doing it, you're not a good leader. And I'm a terrible leader. I'm probably considered a good one to some people, but I think I'm a bad one. Every week I make a mistake and you got to learn from it. But anything that happens wrong in your business, look in the mirror. If somebody in your agency didn't do something correctly, the first thing I ask the manager is, did we teach them? And if we didn't teach them, why? And if you didn't teach them, that means I didn't teach you correctly. And so it all trickles downhill. But I think the coolest part of our business and seeing how it's grown is that we don't run ads on Indeed. Like we have some posts out there that get put on Indeed through software we use, but I'd say 95% of the people that work at this company have found the job through posting on Matt Plapp's personal Facebook page. And you've probably
So
seen them. I put posts up all the time and say, hey, like I have in there D's nuts joke. I have in there, I had one Katie, for example, was a girl that's dominating here. I put a picture of Katie up and said, is your name Katie? I want to hire you. And I'm like, no, all seriousness. I'm looking for somebody just like Katie. Here's all the attributes she has. Here's what we do here. Here's the fun you're going to have. Here's the stupid shit I'm going to say. If you're down to have a conversation, apply.
I love that. So help us understand your evolving, like your growth as a leader. Like it's one
Yep.
thing to lead yourself as a solopreneur, Obviously, it's different to lead a group of 64, 70 people.
Yeah.
But help me understand the different chapters you went through as a leader. I mean, there's a lot there, you know.
Oh man, to say I've been a shit show is a different thing. I've it's tough because my biggest fear early on why I didn't want employees was my fear of I make a mistake and this company goes out of business, that it affects them. Doug, who's now my COO, who's been here since February of 2019, when he came on board, we talked for 5 years before he came on board. His wife was a stay-at-home mom. He had 2 kids in middle school and high school, middle school area. And I kept thinking, like, I want to hire Doug. Doug's the right person here. I don't know if I can afford him, but I also don't know if I can afford to screw his life up, because if he comes here and I screw up, his family relies on him. So that was a big hurdle I had to get over. And I had to get over the fear. But then now it's more excitement. Like Austin bought a house last week. Logan bought one a couple months ago. I've seen 3 new cars pull in the parking lot here at our office in the last 3 or 4 months. And like knowing that I helped them accomplish that goal is really cool. But growing as a leader, the biggest thing for me is reading. You can look around my office, there's books everywhere. I read pretty much every day. I'm trying to get to a pace where I can read 1 book a day, or 1 book a week. Sorry, 1 book a day would be crazy. 1 book a week, and trying to take cues from that. Like I recently got off a kick where I read Shoe Dog, by the way, best book I've ever read in my entire life.
Phil Knight,
Shoe
right?
Dog by
Yep.
Phil Knight. Unbelievable. But I read his book. I read Walter Isaacs's book on Elon Musk. I read Howard Schultz's book on Starbucks. I read book on Steve Jobs. I read one on Bezos and Amazon. And I'm trying to really take cues from their mistakes and also the troubles they go through, because doing what we're doing, last summer was probably the hardest summer of my entire life financially with this company. We burned it. We're self-funded. We don't have any equity, private equity. I own the company. I lost about 400 grand in 5 months because I made some mistakes. And I was like, oh shit, like money's gone. Like I really effed up. And I had to really look in the mirror and figure out, how did I make that mistake? How do I fix it? But also I can't let that trickle down to the employees, because if I come in and I'm in a bad mood, they're in a bad mood.
Yeah.
And I had this was first quarter of 2022. I call it the Cardone Hermosi quarter. I got on this kick that because I knew Hermosi from the early days. I owned a CrossFit gym for 10 years. I'm going there after this interview to do a CrossFit class, but I owned it for 9, 10 years. And we were an early gym launch client. And it's kind of funny. I didn't see what he did coming. We were a client. His product worked great. And so I've known about Hermosi for a long time. And when I saw how successful he got, it really kind of messed with my mind, because I'm like, holy shit, I'm as good as that guy. I know my shit. I know I can do what he did. Why did I not do it faster? And so I got to a point where I went from a standpoint of like doing my own speed. I got to be Grant Cardone. I got to be Alex Hermosi. And so from that standpoint, I went into a mode where I was up at 4 a.m., where I was 4 a.m. to 11 a.m., hardcore working 7 days a week. And I realized it wasn't me, because like I had my team come to me and say, dude, can we have like 2 of my key people came and say, we have a conversation. I'm like, yeah. Like, are you okay? What do you mean? Like, I think you're gonna have a heart attack in you. Like, I'm a healthy guy. I'm not fat. I'm not like unhealthy, but like you're stressed. Like what the stress you're putting on yourself, you're trying to become Hermosi and Cardone overnight. Cardone, if you look at the chart, I've researched him. It took him 15 years to do what he did. Like we see what Hermosi did. We don't look at the 10 years it took to get there. Now he did it quicker than most, but he still did it in a long time. And they had to kind of pull me aside and say, hey, we're not going to get there in a year or two. If we could get there in a year or two, it might not be healthy. And so I had to kind of take a step back and readjust what I thought my goals were in life and become a better leader. But I also had to listen to my team. I saw a video yesterday on Anthony Edwards, I think plays for the Timberwolves, their young point guard.
Yeah.
And it talked about when he went to a pre-draft camp with the
Steve
Golden
Kerr.
State Warriors. Have you seen
Yeah.
that video?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And so he talked about how he went to the Golden State Warriors pre-draft camp and he's there. And afterwards, Steve Kerr and then basically told him, you're not working hard enough. You're not in shape enough. In essence, we're not drafting you. And he didn't pout and say, screw them, I'm this guy. He went back and was reflected and said, shit. He said he called his trainer and said, we got to ramp it up. It's the same with me when my team, when Ashley and Doug and Tom and these guys came to me and said, hey, you're not good to be around and you can fix it. I had to listen to them and go, yeah, you're right. I have been a jackass. Okay. Back to Matt Plapp. And that's why, if you look on a lot of my stuff, like the pillow behind me is an MP. It looks like a fist bump. It's on my ring. It's an MP. I call my alter ego MP. Like Matt Plapp is the one that tries to take the easy road out, is the one that makes excuses. MP is the one that makes the right decision, runs hard and fast, and looks at the future.
Yeah, what I love about this is like there is such a thing called scaling velocity, right? Some people scale too fast. They go too rapid fire where they don't have the team's buy-in and they crash and burn because you're forcing so many projects on the team when they're not ready and prepped. The other is they often scale themselves without the team.
Yeah.
Either doesn't work, right? You go too fast in becoming, I guess, hyper performer. You're powerlifting at 4 a.m. and reading 3 chapters within the on the way home. Like that also is not sustainable, right? So there is like a velocity in scaling. So help us understand how the third thing is of the discussion. Help us understand how you removed yourself from the business
Yeah.
while being content at the velocity of growth.
So I want to clarify something. I'm still in the business. I still work 60 to 80 hours a week, and I always will. I made a blog post today about the next 48 years of my life. So I've removed myself out of operations. I'm not involved. Like I don't build a Facebook ad. I don't build landing page. I don't do anything for our clients outside of occasionally hopping on a call with one of my team members to talk to a client. Occasionally I'll do a sales presentation. I did a sales presentation today. It's the first one I've done in probably 6 months. And I even told the client, I'm like, hey, you're the guinea pig. We have a new brand launching in July. We merged a restaurant software we bought with our agency, and we're rolling out a brand new brand that's going to be exciting in July. And I said, hey, I'm fine tuning this. So you're the guinea pig. And I haven't presented to a client in a long time. So forgive me if I sound like an idiot. And I'm not involved in the operations, but I'm still massively involved in the company. So I want to clarify that because that's one thing that the trap you're going to fall into. I remember being at Josh Nelson's event about 4 years ago, and everybody's talking about, oh, I removed myself from the business. I'm no longer in sales. I'm no longer this. And so it was like the cool thing in my mind. Okay, well, I can't be doing this stuff.
Yeah. It's
And
like
I
this
thought
lifestyle thing, right? It's
yeah,
like
I thought one guy's like, oh, I work 10 hours a week. And so I'm like, man, what am I messing up? And then I realized that's not me. I'm not that guy. My hobby is this business and my passion is growing it. So while I've removed myself from the operations, I am still very integral in the company. And so what I've learned to do with me every step along the way, this is the reason I have the daily podcast. The daily podcast isn't for leads. It's for my team. And if you listen to my podcast, you'll hear me talk about our company vision, where we're going and why we're going there. I record this podcast every day. The number one audience is my employees. The second audience are restaurant clients we currently have. And the third audience are prospects. Because if my employees follow what we're doing, they'll take our customers on the journey. And if our customers come on the journey, they'll be much better off. If I only talk to our customers, I talk over my employees' heads. I'm not teaching them. We have a all hands on company meeting every Monday. I call it the State of the Union, where every Monday for 30 minutes, I hop on Zoom. It's all on virtual because it'd be hard to be in a giant conference room. Even the people that are in the office next to me are on the Zoom call. And we all hop on Zoom and I teach one thing. And sometimes it's a life lesson. Like a couple weeks ago, it was about fasting. I went on a 5-day fast. Here's what I learned. Not saying you guys got a 5-day fast. I'm just telling you what I learned and why I did it and what I think it's going to help me with. And I talk about, the importance of physical fitness and being in shape. I talk about reading. One of the questions I ask my employees more often than I ask about how they're doing for our clients, what are you reading right now? And somebody was recently embarrassed to tell me they were reading this book and no do with business. And they're like, well, they were hemming and hawing. I said, what are you reading? And they told me, and they said, well, I didn't want to take it. It's not a business book. I'm like, are you enjoying it? Is it making you happier? Is it making you a better person? Yes. There you go. Doesn't matter if it's business. I'm just here to make sure you're right. And I have a saying I use called MBS, mind, body, and spirit. That every day, if I take care of my mind, take care of my body, take care of my spirit, then I'll be in a much better place long term. And if I also take that exact same approach to all of my employees, that'll help. So when you grow and get yourself out of the business, you obviously have to create that assembly line. And ironically, our assembly line was built because I learned about a product called Asana from Billie Jean. And when I wrote my first book back in 2018, I wrote it based off of my Asana build. I had a consultant. I saw it, Traffic and Conversions out in San Diego, and he talked about writing books. And we got to talking. And he goes, "Well, Matt, how's your machine built? What you guys sell for restaurants? How's it built?" I said, "It's in Asana." And I showed him on my phone. He goes, "There's chapter 1, there's chapter 2, there's chapter." I'm like, "Holy shit, you're right." So I wrote a book based off our Asana build. Well, our Asana build is the machine. And so we plug employees into the machine. Now I just have to lead them based on how to make their part of the machine more optimized. And it's comical. My employees all the time, every third or fourth week, are all company hands-on meeting at 11:30 on Mondays will be something a lot of them have never heard. Like I talked about a Netflix show that I'm creating that's going to help America's best restaurants as a micro brand with a social media brand. And my creative director, Joel, who came from the History Channel and he's in charge of our show, came down from New York to Kentucky. That tells you the vision he sees here. And he came down here and I said this on the call and he came to my office like, "Dude, I've never heard you talk about that before." And like a lot of times people think like, "Why do I not know this?" Where you tell all of our employees, I'm like, I just brain dump, man. I want to paint the picture. Here's the mountain we're going to. I think a lot of times employers don't paint the mountain. Like restaurants say, "I can't find employees." No, you can't find employees that want to work at your shitty restaurant. Employees are out there. If they saw you in a different manner and they saw the mountain you were climbing, they might want to be on the climb with you. But because all you do every day is post about your food and you don't post about your vision and your family and your community, you're not building a culture they want to be a part of and a vision they want to be on.
Yeah, I think the brilliant component here that we should talk about is the scalability of it. Like it's one thing to remove yourself from the assembly line and the process. Obviously, you're still involved. Like, I mean, obviously everybody's involved to a certain capacity, whether they know it or not. They're just making bigger decisions as they grow, right?
Yeah.
So the scalability of it. Do you remember that book Built to Sell? I don't
Yeah.
remember who wrote it, but this book talks about kind of creating a niche specific or item specific lane. So how did restaurants become the thing? Does that have anything to do with your scalability? Is it the type of team? Is it the Asana ClickUp? Or is the process the winner there? Or is it the choice of the industry? Like give us the the unpacking of the scalability component.
Yeah. So the first thing I'll say about scalability is number one, when you're picking a niche, don't feel like you have to hurry. I had from 2008 to 2015, 31 clients or 34 clients from 31 industries at our peak. I mean, we had car dealer, auto repair, home builder, window company, golf course, restaurants, you name it. We had it as a client. And I didn't know what scaling meant back then. And I remember when I realized we had 9 restaurants from 3 different owners, it was the first time in my business that I created a Facebook marketing campaign that worked with the other one. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm going to do this here again." And like none of that ever transferred. I couldn't take something from the car dealership, even to the auto repair and then to the vacuum store and into a restaurant. So when I got to a point of realizing, okay, we created something cool that works with all 9 of these people, that makes my life easier because now I'm not trying to hire people that are experts in 10 different industries. That was why I couldn't figure out how to scale my company. Doug Smith, when I hired him in 2019, the reason I didn't hire him 5 or 6 years earlier was one, I was scared to do it, but two, I was also unsure how I was going to go from a $30,000 to $40,000 a month company to an $80,000 a month company, which I thought I would have to do in order to justify his expense. Because then I also thought like, man, I got to hire more experts that know about these industries. When I realized that the restaurant was a way to go, I'll never forget the meeting. It was with Billie Jean Shaw in his office down there in San Diego.
San Diego, yeah.
He pulled up his fancy TV you could write on. I still don't have one. He had one then. I'm still broke. And I remember him writing on this like $10,000 TV, and he's like, "What do you do that works really well, Matt?" I'm like, "Well, I've got RV dealerships that work really well with. I've got golf courses our stuff works well with. I've got restaurants, and the restaurant and golf courses actually is really similar. The whole funnel I built." And he asked me, "What do I like working with?" And then we started looking at it, and he said, "I think based on scalability that the restaurants are the place for you." And because I told him I didn't like the personality of most of the RV dealer owners. They were, I'm a Kentucky guy. I'm a normal down to earth guy. I'm not bougie. I don't go to the high end restaurant. I go to a fancy restaurant. I'm just like, give me steak and French fries. And I'm not getting all this tartar stuff. And so I didn't relate with the RV owners. The golf courses frustrated me because if it was a good season and it was hot and the sun was out, they were broke because their water bill was too much because they had to buy water and their lakes were empty. And if it was a rainy season, they couldn't have no golfers out and they weren't making money. So I'm like, I don't like the seasonality. So I went with restaurants. And when I did that, like Billy scoped out and said, here's a niche you can go into, breweries. And I went down that path, but I also went into it with an understanding I wasn't going to stop. And when I did that, I also identified the product. And I said, okay, what is something they need that I can help with? And to be completely transparent, the first 19 restaurants that hired us in that program fired us within 6 months. Everything was wrong. Like I thought it worked, but what I thought didn't matter, what they thought mattered. And so it took a couple years of trial and error there. But as far as scaling, and I think that was the question on this with regards to niche, I think the easiest way to scale is number one, by finding a method and then finding a product. But also don't be scared to like go right into it all at once. Like I actually, for 6 months or maybe a year, I had the RV dealer funnel. I had the restaurant funnel. I had the golf course funnel. And then when I got to that meeting with Billy, I really identified with who my avatar was and who I would work with. I had somebody a while back, I can't remember who it was. He said, I want you to make sure that all your clients would be friends with you outside of being a client. If there's people that are in your world that are causing you problems because they're not the right personality, the right mindset, they don't fit your core values, which we should talk about that too, then why have them as a client? Because this is going to frustrate you. I had a client yesterday email my team something rude and I canceled his business. I'm like, we're done. Like it makes no sense. Like you have the broke mindset, not broke. You might be broke financially, but you're sure as hell broke morally and mentally. And so when you scale, look at who your ideal client would be from a opportunity that you can deliver a result that is repeatable. And it's not repeatable to take a restaurant marketing program and go to an RV dealership. It's two different things. So a product that's scalable, and then also a vertical. Hey, what vertical can I serve? And I'll go ahead and tell every agency owner out there, there's not one vertical that is watered down. I hear that all the time at Josh's events. Yeah, I was thinking about going this route, but there's just too many. No, we see each other and we perceive. I mean, if that was the case, Rob and Alex wouldn't have created High Level 5, 6, 7 years ago with the other founders. And I remember in 2000, you might not know the story, but in 2017, I think, Robin, or maybe it was 18, Robin joined I had an agency training program that happened on accident out of Billie Jean stuff. And Robin joined it. It was $500 up front, $99 a month. It was restaurant marketing. And I remember thinking like, why is Robin in here? Like, he's not a restaurant guy. And then about a month or two into it, he said, hey, I want to be transparent with you. I'm not a restaurant guy. I'm just in a bunch of agency programs. We're building this software. Like I thought he was crazy. And that's one thing I'll tell you guys. If people think you're crazy for what you're doing, you're probably on the right path. The restaurant I visited on Sunday, Louis Waffle House in Chicago, the two owners are brothers. They're in their mid-20s. One of them has an engineering degree, and the other one dropped out of med school with a year left to go buy their parents' restaurant, buy a Bob Evans, rehash it, remodel it, and create their own brand, Louis Waffle House. Everybody said, you're absolutely insane. You're supposed to be a doctor. You're supposed to be an engineer. And now they're killing the restaurant space. Well, I remember when Rob and Alex was in my agency training program, told me he was creating this software. And I'm like, man, this dude's on drugs, but like, I love it. Like he's going after his mountain. I didn't understand it. And then when I saw what he built like a year or two later, I'm like, it's a freaking genius. And now I look at what High Level is and I'm like, my gosh, I wish I would have followed the path quicker earlier with we could have been much bigger with High Level. But, sometimes you're in your own little funnel and you don't watch. And that was the thing with me. That was one thing I did do well is I blocked a lot of shit out. Like I blew Robin off a bunch. When I hired Doug in the spring of 2019, I remember Robin reaching out to me to show me Go High Level that April or May. When did Go High Level launch? Like officially? It was like spring of
I
2019,
think
maybe?
I want to say end of 2018, beginning of 2019, if I'm not
Yeah. So
mistaken.
it was like first
Yeah,
quarter of 2019 when I was hiring
yeah,
Doug Smith, my COO now. Robin had reached out and I'm like, hey, man, I got this new guy coming on board. I don't have time to mess with it. I got to train him. And I pushed him off. And it wasn't until like 6 or 7 months later, I'm like, oh my God, this is a cool product.
yeah.
And we moved all of our stuff off of another brand over to High Level, and we've never went back to that brand. And the cool part about it was I look back, and the reason I was not big and still haven't become like an affiliate seller of High Level, that's not how I'm making money. And
Right.
that's one thing I think we all have to avoid too, is you scale your agency. Don't be afraid to say the word no. And don't be afraid to go a different route. Like I had a guy that reached out to me this week who's got a really cool product that he thinks could integrate well with americasbestrestaurants.com and some other things we got going. I said, hey, it looks great. It's
Yeah.
not on the radar for 6 months. I said, reach out to me end of the year, maybe early next year, and maybe we'll have a meeting then, because even though I could look at, oh man, I could make another $1,000 here, it's going to slow me down with our big picture.
Yeah, so Matt, I love some of the notes you shared about Rob. And I mean, I've had similar experiences back in the day. I had my dental agency, and he was focused on the HIPAA component, and I remember him telling me about this and that, and I was distracted too. I was like, man, well, I'm building my agency, and it didn't correlate with me either back then. But here's what I remembered. I remember the power of subscriptions and software as a thing. And I know you have a lot of projects under the way on software. Can you at least speak to the power of software, even if it's not directly related to high level? I know you got your own launches and stuff, but we all have this commonality as business owners that all roads somehow still lead to subscriptions.
Yeah, you have to have reoccurring revenue. That's the first thing. We've got one, two, three, four verticals of our business, and only one of them doesn't have reoccurring. It's an education. We sell a 400-page training for restaurants. It's a lead magnet. It sells for $1,000, and it's a good product. There's no reoccurring on it, but it's just a marketing tactic, marketing funnel. The other three items are all reoccurring. So you have to have reoccurring. And the one thing I've learned is you've got to become sticky. That what I liked about web design early on, because I knew enough to do that. We had a bunch of those clients. We actually still have two of them from 2008. They send a check every month. All of our clients are on credit card or ACH, except for a handful, but I have two since 2008. Every month, that check for $250 a month pops in. I've never raised their price because I just think it's so cool that that check still shows up for $250 for their website and some social media. But one of the things I liked early on in my agency was the website, because it's a hard thing to change that. We work with a couple point of sale companies, and the one point of sale company, if you want to change from them to another point of sale, and you've got kitchen dashboards and printers, and you've got your mobile kiosk, it is a big task. And so it's very sticky. And that is what software is. And so we bought a company called Name Repeat Returns, been around since 2008, and serviced about 900 restaurants. So we acquired that software because I realized it was going to cost us too much to build something from scratch. They already had 900 clients that fit our avatar, and it worked well with combining our marketing services with this software. It's also very, very niche with regards to the restaurant point of sale world. So it's not something that is a high level type product. Disclaimer. So High Level is a great product. We use it for our catering. Our clients use it. But the part about the software for me is that it allows you to offer something that maybe they don't need your help with. Maybe they want to try and tinker with Facebook ads on their own and create landing pages. Well, if you can create something in your vertical that you've got XYZ, and then you can sell on top of it your higher level services, I think it's a gold mine. Because at the end of the day, like our software, we've got 3 levels to it. And if the clients are at the most basic level, which right now, over 1,000 are, that if they want to leave, let's say 500 are using our marketing services company, and in 6 months or a year want to leave that part of it, they're just going to downgrade to the software, and it's on autopilot. And if they were to leave there, now they got a loyalty program that's generating 40 grand a month that they're going to abandon. Like you'd have to have a drug problem to make that stupid decision. So I believe that software and the subscription model, subscription is such a small dollar amount that people are less likely to cancel it than they would something else. But also it's a stickiness to your agency that if that was a mistake we made for a while, we never had that component up until a year ago. We always had our agency services and we had subscriptions and we had some micro version of software. We used a really big build we did in ManyChat. We have our build inside a high level with our catering dashboards and the funnels and the nurturing, and they love that CRM aspect in high level for the restaurants. So we have that, but it was never a big enough component. And that's one thing I noticed, like we have to be stickier because if anybody can do Facebook ads, anybody can build a Google AdWords campaign, anybody can do SEO. But if you get clients using your product, like white label or SaaS model of Go High Level, it gives you a very unique offering, especially if you become an expert in a niche. I mean, I know a guy that does shed marketing, like sheds in your backyard of your house. I didn't know that existed as a niche, but he dominates the shed company marketing niche.
Yeah.
There's people that do tree removal services, landscaping. There's a million different opportunities.
It reminds me of the gentleman in Josh Nelson's group. I don't know if it's David or Daniel. He does concrete marketing. I mean, they do driveways all day long. I forgot his name.
Yeah, it's David Kunstek does concrete pressure washing companies. He was a Billie Jean guy. He was a Billie Jean guy, then became into my restaurant marketing guy, then went to Josh Nelson. And he's been doing pressure washing for a few years now. He's killing it.
Right. So Matt, we talked about one-man show, solopreneur going and becoming essentially a corporate brand and scaling into 8 figures.
Yep.
What are some final thoughts that you want to share? I know you wanted to share a couple of things on core values as individuals, but help us understand and take us home.
So core values, you need to identify who you are and what you stand for. We went through a process about 2 years ago where we were looking at our clients and our employees and we were treating them differently. And what we found was that when I hire people here, there's 3 things that are important to me. And we've had these on paper for a long time: positive mindset, growth oriented, and collaborative. If you don't check off all 3, we're having a conversation. I'm happy to say we've only had 2 people quit since 2008 and we've only fired 5. And 4 of those 5 came within a 90-day period. We had the wrong person hiring. I had offloaded hiring. I got out of the process and screwed it up. But we had core values that when people came here, I'm like, hey, great. I don't care about your resume. Like I met a guy today. He sent me his resume. I won't even look at it. What do you stand for? Are you a family guy? Are you in the fitness? How do you eat? What's in your world? Are you positive mindset? Is the glass half full or half empty? And then collaborative. Do you work well with other people? Because it's got to be a back and forth relationship. And so one big mistake we made for a long time was I hired based off our core values, but I took any jackass's money. And so when we had this discovery a couple of years ago, we were like, why is our churn rate bad? Like it got worse. Like we used to never lose clients. And then it got to a point where we were losing clients more consistently, but also we were having frustrations with clients. And it was because we weren't holding our clients to the same scale we were our employees. And we were letting the wrong people. Yeah. We were letting the wrong people into our world. And what I found out was if I bring in a jackass and now my employees got to deal with them, now they're negative. Their work day is like, oh my gosh, that guy emailed us. We got to talk to him again. Oh my, this isn't fun. So create what you stand for, who you are, and then make sure the customers are the same, because the last thing you want to have is turn around in 2 years, you've got 40 clients and 20 of them are jerks and 20 are awesome, because the jerks are going to drag you down mentally. They're going to drain you. So that's a big thing. Number 2, stick with it and don't look at everybody else. Yes, I'm jealous as shit of Billie Jean, of Rob and Alex, of Alex Hormozy. I know that I have as much ability, if not more, than every one of them, but I've seen them do things that I've not done. And it's not hard to be like, oh my gosh, I'm a deadbeat. Billy made more money by 28 than I made at 48. Hormozy, I was in his program for our gym and never even, that's how much blinders I had on, bro. We were using for the gym every single thing he taught with Gym Launch. I had to, when I applied, they actually turned me down because they knew who I was. So then I reapplied under the gym's other LLC and under my partner's name because I didn't run the gym. I had no interest in stealing their IP. But we doubled the size of that gym in 6 months. And it never occurred to me to use any of his shit for my restaurants. That's how stupid I was. I had the blinders. Matt Plapp knew what he wanted. But that was a big thing with me was I don't look at other people. There's always going to be somebody doing a lot better than you, a
There's
lot
always a bigger
quicker.
fish. There's always a bigger fish.
Yeah. And there's also a lot of people bullshitting. Like there's also a lot of people that like you think they're somewhere they're not. And so don't worry about anybody else. Worry about you. Don't spew negative. One thing I did badly, I admit this, like I had jealousy in the past on things. I had, I would go toe to toe with people online with negative crap, 7, 8 years ago. Now I just don't really give a shit anymore. I love actually just messing with trolls on Instagram and Facebook more than anything now, not because I take it personally, just have fun with them. But you got to put the blinders on and not worry about other people. Not worry that Billy Jean's doing this or Alex Hormozy sold his company for 40 million and you've been doing the same crap with restaurants. And that's hard. And then also stick with it. Nothing worth doing happens fast. That if you're 100 pounds overweight and you could lose the 100 pounds in 2 weeks, something wrong and probably ain't going to work. Realize it's going to take you 5 years to actually lose the 100 pounds and keep it off and become fit. It's the same with your business. I mean, we are killing it by the means of most people, what we're doing. I mean, we've went from me by myself doing 20 to 30 grand a month to we do 20 to 30 grand most days. And we have days that hit 40 or 50 grand a day in revenue. That's stupid. Like I would have never thought what I was doing months was a day now, but it happened over a long period. It didn't just happen. I showed up one day wearing an orange shirt and somebody said, hey, it happened over a 10-year period. I get text messages every other day with a car or a truck or something in somewhere in this country that's orange from people that are random, people that are customers, people that are friends and employees. That didn't happen overnight. And so that's the big thing. And then just take one thing and do it really well. That's what a lot of people tend to not do is they want to try and be everything to everybody. Find out what you can do well, find out who you want to do it for, and then say, you know what? It's May 23rd right now, 2024. I'm not looking up and contemplating any massive change for 5 years. If in 5 years you've not gotten to the promised land to some extent, okay, maybe you need to switch a little. But at that point, you've probably developed a pretty damn good skill somewhere.
I love that, Matt. So I appreciate you saying yes and jumping in. It's good catching up with you. Those of you that are watching, we do these podcasts once in a while. So our YouTube channel is full of these podcast sessions now. So take a look at it. If you're not part of the High Level family, there's a link somewhere. Jump into a 14-day trial. We're normal people with great aspirations just like you. Lastly, Matt, for the person, the entrepreneur that just started this week with this whole business world, maybe they have a day job and they're trying to figure out what to do. They see Matt Plapp as someone that's so far beyond something they could even fathom. Like you're in chapter 10 and they're trying to figure out where is chapter 1. Speak to that person who doesn't even have a client just yet, and we'll close out.
Take this device that we all call a phone. There's these things on the back called a camera. And every day, chronicle your journey. Get on Facebook, go live and say, what's up? It's Matt Plapp, your boy. We're friends. Maybe we went to high school together, went to college together. I got an idea. I think it would be really cool to create a company doing XYZ. Not really sure how to do it. If you're out there and you think you can give me some advice, I'd love to buy you a cup of coffee. If you're out there and you have a small business that you think you might benefit from this, I'll do it for free. So be willing to put yourself out there, be willing to be vulnerable, and be willing to be made fun of. I'll tell you this. This is the funniest thing. I'll end with this. Twice in a matter of 1 month, I walk into the gym that I owned, that one of the guys in the gym is like, hey, Mr. Facebook Live. I so much wanted to go. I make in a week what you make in a year. I didn't. I bit my tongue. I smiled and said, yeah, I'll go live later with you, brother. No lie, within a month, I'm at a restaurant where I had just parked my Lambo next to the front door. And my old boss from radio comes out and goes, "Oh, hey, shit, I thought you might be on live right now." And he was trying to be a smart ass. And then he saw the orange Lambo and he's like, huh, maybe there's something to this shit. You can't let the haters get you down. And that was what held me back. That's why I did not create content the first 5 to 6 years. I was scared what my neighbors would think, what my friends would think. I would sound stupid. I would look stupid. Now I could give a holy hell. Take this device out. It's easy and free to create content on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube Shorts, on Instagram Reels, on Twitter X. Get a Libsyn account and do a podcast every day. Write a blog on WordPress. And just don't worry about anybody else, because the people that are going to say negative crap to you are below you. Alex Hormozy, Gary V, Robin Alex, Billie Jean, Grant Cardone, they're not going to look at somebody taking effort and give them crap. They're going to say, I was there once. And just realize the people that throw hate and throw shade at you, they're just jealous and scared of what you're doing. And don't be worried about that.
I love that. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. Matt, it's good seeing you again. Thanks for saying yes to me on a podcast session. It was random. I just thought about you random. I'm like, man, where's that orange guy? I haven't seen him on my news feed in a while. Let me reach out. So I'm glad we got this done. Those of you that are watching again, if you don't have a high level account, jump in. Feel free to reach out to Matt. I'm sure he's got a ton of things. I know you're involved with Josh Nelson. They've got a great program there as well. But anyways, bye for now. Take care.
See you guys. Thanks, man.